The cold case of a career tonight. We're investigating one of the most baffling, vanishing acts in modern entertainment history. The case of Alice Fredenham, a woman whose voice was once called the eighth wonder of the world, but who has seemingly been erased from the mainstream map. In the fast-paced cycle of the digital age, we're used to stars fading, but Alice didn't just fade. She retreated into a silence so profound it has left millions of fans asking the same question. What actually happened when the stage lights went dark? Before the viral clips and the standing ovations, Alice was a 28-year-old beauty therapist living a life of quiet desperation in Hertfordshire. She wasn't just a singer. She was a woman burdened by a talent she felt she couldn't control. To understand why she almost gave up on her dream in 2026, we have to look at the psychological weight of her beginning. She lived in a constant state of internal conflict, where her desire to be heard was at war with a debilitating fear of being seen. This wasn't typical pre-show jitters. It was a profound, paralyzing anxiety that nearly kept her from ever walking onto the stage. For years, she was a ghost in her own life, singing only when she was certain no one was listening. But as we've discovered, the transition from a private room to a global stage wasn't a fairy tale. It was a shock to the system that would eventually lead to her total withdrawal. We're digging into the records to find out if the industry built her up just to watch her crumble, and the details we've uncovered suggest that her almost success was a choice she made to save herself. But the question remains, was it the fear that stopped her, or something much more cynical happening behind the scenes? The 2013 paradox, the year 2013, remains a stain on the authentic image of reality television, and Alice Fredenham was caught right in the crosshairs of a scandal that would define her career's trajectory. It's the moment that sparked thousands of conspiracy theories. How could a woman appear on two rival networks in the same month with two completely different personalities? On the Voice UK, the report was grim. She was rejected, ignored, and sent home without a single chair turning. Yet weeks later, on Britain's Got Talent, she appeared as a trembling, broken soul who stunned Simon Cowell into silence. The media immediately went into a frenzy. Accusations surfaced that her shy girl persona was a calculated fabrication, a scripted attempt to garner sympathy from the public. Our investigation into the timeline reveals a much darker reality of how these shows are produced. While viewers saw a liar, those close to the production saw a woman who was being mentally dismantled by the pressure of competing narratives. This controversy didn't just hurt her reputation, it fractured her confidence. Imagine being told you aren't good enough by one set of experts, only to be hailed as a savior by another. The whiplash was extreme. It created a narrative that Alice was fake, and in the world of high-retention media, that's a death sentence. We've looked into the contracts and the filming schedules, and it appears Alice was a pawn in a larger war between broadcasting giants. She wasn't playing a character. She was being played by a system that prioritizes drama over the well-being of its contestants. This was the first major crack in the foundation, and it paved the way for the shocking disappearance that followed. And as the public turned their back on her authenticity, Alice began to realize that the dream she had chased was actually a nightmare in disguise. The psychological toll, what happens to the human psyche when millions of people are waiting for you to fail. For Alice, the viral fame that followed her BGT audition wasn't a blessing. It was a trigger for a mental health crisis that the cameras chose to ignore for the sake of ratings. We are reporting on a side of the industry that is rarely exposed. The total lack of support for overnight sensations who are already struggling with pre-existing conditions. Alice's battle with stage fright was well documented, but the intensity of the trolling that followed her auditions was something she was never prepared for. Sources close to the singer suggest that the period following her TV appearances was marked by dark days and a total loss of identity. She had become a meme, a talking point, and a controversial figure before she even had a chance to record a single song. The weight of being, the woman who almost gave up, became a self-fulfilling prophecy. We've learned that during this time, Alice began to pull away from potential management deals, terrified that they would only exploit her vulnerability for more clicks. This led to rumors of a total breakdown, with some claiming she had offed her career intentionally to escape the scrutiny. The reality is perhaps even more tragic. She was a world-class talent who felt she had no safe place to exist. In an industry that demands constant engagement and transparency, Alice's desire for privacy was seen as a weakness. But as our report continues, you'll see that her withdrawal wasn't a sign of defeat. It was a desperate act of self-preservation against a machine that was ready to chew her up and spit her out like so many others before her. But the industry wasn't done with her yet, and the next chapter of her life would see her fighting a different kind of war, a financial one. The crowd-funded ghost in a move that shocked the traditional music world, Alice Fredenham bypassed the major labels and turned to her fans for a lifeline. But even this success came with a hidden price tag. Following her departure from the reality TV circuit, Alice found herself in a precarious position. She was famous, but she was broke. The massive recording contracts that usually follow a viral audition never materialized, or if they did, the terms were so restrictive that she couldn't sign them in good conscience. This led to the 2017 release of Under the Skin, an album funded entirely by the people who still believed in her voice. However, our investigation into the independent music scene reveals that this was where the real struggle began. Without the machine behind her, Alice was responsible for her own marketing, her own distribution, and her own emotional stability. The album was a masterpiece of soul and jazz, but it lacked the pop polish needed for radio play in the late 2010s. It was a ghost of an album, hauntingly beautiful but largely unheard by the masses. We've gathered data that suggests the financial strain of being an independent artist in the streaming era contributed to her eventual decision to step back. It's a harsh reality. You can have millions of views on YouTube, but if you don't have a label pushing your music into playlists, you're effectively invisible. Alice was caught in a dead zone between being a celebrity and being a working musician. She had the fame, but none of the infrastructure to support it. This financial suffocation is a recurring theme for many who find fame on talent shows, and for Alice, it was the final confirmation that the industry she wanted to join didn't actually have a place for someone like her. And that's when the trail went cold. Recent sightings in 2026 reality fast forward to 2026, and the Alice Fredenham mystery has only deepened, with new speculations emerging about her current whereabouts and her silent lifestyle. Is she still singing, or has the woman with the golden voice permanently hung up the microphone? Our team has scoured social media and industry registries, and the results are revealing in their absence. Alice has maintained a digital footprint that is almost non-existent. There are no updates, no teasers, and no behind-the-scenes glimpses into a new project. For a woman of her talent, this level of radio silence is unprecedented. Some rumors suggest she has returned to her roots in the beauty industry, finding peace in a life where she isn't being judged by a panel of celebrities or millions of strangers online. Others speculate that she is still writing and recording in secret, waiting for a time when the toxic nature of the industry subsides. What we do know is that she has become a symbol for a new generation of artists who are choosing peace over popularity. In 2026, the definition of success has shifted, and for Alice, it seems that her almost dream was actually a close call with a life she never truly wanted. We've spoken to industry insiders who claim that Alice was blacklisted by certain circles for her refusal to play the game, while others insist she simply walked away of her own volition. Regardless of the reason, her absence from the 2026 music scene is a loud statement. She has proven that you can be exposed to the entire world and still choose to remain a mystery. But as we close this investigation, we have to ask, did we lose a legend, or did Alice Fredenham actually win by leaving the race before it destroyed her? The final verdict as we conclude this special report, we're left with a shocking realization about the cost of our own entertainment and the reality of the talent show machine. Alice Fredenham's life story isn't just a biography of a singer. It's an indictment of a culture that treats human beings like disposable content. We watched her cry, we watched her sing, and then we watched her disappear, all while she was fighting a battle we could never truly understand. The woman who almost gave up on her dream might be the most exposed and yet most misunderstood figure of the last decade. Her story serves as a stark reminder that making it isn't the same thing as being happy. In 2026, Alice stands as a testament to the power of saying no. She revealed her soul to us for a brief moment, and when she realized the world wasn't a safe place for it, she took it back. It's a dramatic end to a story that started with so much promise, but perhaps it's the most authentic ending possible. Alice Fredenham didn't fail. The system failed to protect a talent that was too fragile for the meat grinder of modern fame. As you watch those old clips of her auditioning today, don't just hear the voice. See the woman who was brave enough to walk away when the price of the dream became too high. Her legacy isn't a collection of hit singles. It's the mystery of what could have been and the quiet dignity of choosing a life that is truly her own. It leaves us with one final, thought-provoking question. If you had a gift that the whole world wanted, would you have the strength to keep it for yourself?